There's never been a better time than now to stop what you're doing and tune in to Straight Up, TAB Radio's weekly podcast that will guide you through the difficult journey that is the punt. Whether it be racing or sport, the Straight Up team has your back. Now, from the studios of TAB Radio, welcome to Straight Up.
The old team is back. Rylie Morgan, a very good afternoon.
Yes. Hello, Marty. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Very dangerous. Let's get straight to Mickey McGuane.
McGuane gets past Brown. They're lifting the pies. They can sense it. McGuane's had 5 bounces. Nearly get another one. Round he goes. In he goes to an open goal. Mickey McGuane, goal of the year.
Mick McGuane joins us on Straight Up for this AFL preview thanks to Dankz Furniture.
You won't see better than that.
With 6 local stores in the metro area, there's one near you.
Yes, a very good afternoon, Mick. How are you going?
Yeah, really well, Marty. Good to see you back from your Christmas holiday.
Yeah, it's been beautiful, Mick. Thanks for worrying about me.
It's a long hiatus.
Oh, he's good. He's good, Riley.
He's very good, Mick, and so are you. You were on song last week for Gather Round. You found the Cats straight off the bat, able to get the job done there. It looked as though the game was slipping away from them, but they were able to really respond and get themselves over the line there against the Crows. And looking ahead to this weekend, Mick, we say it every week, it's another massive week of footy, but there are some games this weekend more so than most that I think is really going to divide opinions between tipsters and punters alike as well.
Absolutely. I think nearly every game's got ramifications in some way or another. Depends which way you look at it. If Melbourne lose again, more talk on Simon Goodwin, his tenure. If North Melbourne happen to fight back and knock over Carlton, the pressure mounts on Michael Voss. Collingwood, the real deal, if they travel to the Gabba and beat the Brisbane Lions tonight. Then what happens in a big clash in Adelaide, with Adelaide taking on the GWS Giants, who are in fantastic form, and can Port replicate their magnificent victory of last Sunday, the last game of Gather Round, and they absolutely demoralised and embarrassed the Hawthorn Footy Club in the first half of that contest.
And what about on that holiday Monday? Do we get another serving of these epic games between Geelong and Hawthorn?
I think we will. I've got no doubt there'll be an immediate response, and it's fascinating. As much as you say, well, gee, I'd love to be in the review and see what was said and how it was said, delivered. Sometimes the players know themselves, Marty, when you've been in that environment, and their pride takes a prick for a while. But then the best thing about our great game, you got a chance to replicate the wrongs from the previous week in 5, 6, 7, 8, in this case, 8 days' time for Hawthorn. And they'll come out at the MCG, all guns blazing, I reckon. They'll try to rectify the wrongs of their first half last week, which was nothing short of embarrassment.
Well, let's get stuck into this preview for this weekend's action. Kicks off tonight at the Gabba. Brisbane taking on the Pies. Brisbane $1.53. The Pies at $2.50. Quite a big differential in the market at the moment. The line at 10.5. That doesn't seem too bad a bet there for me, Mick, for the Pies. And the total points 175.5.
Yeah, I think Collingwood represent the value here. They're playing pretty good footy. I know Brisbane have been a bit leaky early in games. Their first halves haven't been that great. They've finished the game strongly. But, gee, they wouldn't want to give Collingwood a start. They're hard to chase down. They're in good form. To go is a big inclusion. They'll miss Membry. I like the way he's been a part of their Fort mix and what he's done for McStay and also Myercheck when they play together. And the more they do it, they're going to be better served. But in this game, I wouldn't be surprised if either team won. And I reckon it's pretty enticing from a betting perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Either team to win by 15 points or less, and that gives you a great value around the $2.75 market, Marty. So I could probably entertain that in a multi or even have a single bet on that type of scenario.
Agree totally, particularly when you go on the last 2 years, head-to-head, these two teams, there's just been nothing in it. And that last game, when Collingwood got Brisbane late last year at the MCG, even though it had no bearing for Collingwood to make the 8, did it? It kept them alive, I guess, but they couldn't make the 8. But it was just one of the games of the season.
Well, 4 minutes to go, they were 17 points in front, Brisbane, and Collingwood found a way to kick the last 3 and win the game by a point after giving up, 6 goals in the first term. So they wouldn't want to be sleepy with their start again, Brisbane, because Collingwood love to travel. It galvanises the team, and they believe they're as good as anyone. And one thing we do know, it's factual, the last time, 3 times these two clubs have met, one in a grand final and twice in the home and away last season, Collingwood's beat the Brisbane Lions.
Yep, they have. Just keep an eye on this first at Pakenham. They're milling around behind the barriers. Just on the last time they met, obviously no Danaher, he kicked 4, Lohman kicked 2, no Lohman as well. So they've got to find a couple of goals from missing players.
Yeah, they have, but they've got multiple threats in front of the ball. As we know, Rayner can bob up and kick multiple goals, so can Cameron. I love the improvement of Logan Morris. Hipwood stepped up when he had to last week, kicking 5 in that second half. He was brilliant. So they've got Zach Bailey, who's their leading goal kicker at this stage. So they've got threats everywhere. If Collingwood's defenders seem to snooze, but one thing I will say, their defence is intact, and I love the way Darcy Moore's defending at the moment. I think he's only lost 5% of his one-on-one battles that he's been involved in, so he's on top of his game.
We've got Mick McGuane online for Dankz Furniture.
And we better get running with this preview as well. We've taken a look at tonight's game already. Massive game tomorrow on Good Friday. North Melbourne taking on Carlton. North Melbourne have really shortened up in this market as well. They're into $2.95. The Blues $1.40. The line at 17.5. And the total points 180.5. Did you have any strong thoughts here, Mick? This looks a really tricky game.
Yeah, it is a tricky game. I wouldn't be surprised if North Melbourne get them with their high accumulation. They're a high-volume team when it comes to possession. And they might trouble Carlton in terms of transition. So at the value, I think North represent good odds. Kemp out, Mackay out. If Curno's held, does Silvani push forward? Can they kick a winning score, Carlton? That's the debate. Does Cripps spend more time forward? It allows Chera and Walsh to get through the midfield with Hewitt to get to work. Does Pitney come in? Not sure what they're going to do there. So I think with Wardlaw coming back into that team to stiffen up their midfield to get these young boys playing a fair bit together, with an eye to the future, they might trouble the Blues.
Okay. The second of the games there tomorrow's here at Optus Stadium. West Coast are $4.40. Essendon are $1.21.
Does Tim Kelly come back in?
Yes.
He's been named.
He has, okay. McGovern's right?
That hasn't been confirmed yet, but Oscar Allen has been managed in very interesting scenes.
That's interesting in itself. I think Essendon will justify the short odds. They have to replace, obviously, Nick Bryan. I think Essendon's second half last quarter against Melbourne was pretty strong. I think that'll be a good form reference, considering how well they played out that game against the West Coast Eagles. So I think they'll justify the very short quote at 5s on. Yeah,
they were good last week, the Bombers, and it has been announced that Peter Wright will be the replacement for Nick Bryan as well, who comes in for, I believe, his first game of the season this year, Marty.
Peter Wright, yeah, Peter first Wright. Game. They had a little scratchy with Hawthorn last week, an unofficial, Mick, as you would know, and Peter Wright kicked 3 goals, looked pretty sharp. So that'll probably mean that Draper has to play more ruck than forward, but that he showed last week.
Good last week.
Yeah, I thought Big Maxi cleaned him up in the rucking, but around the grounds he was good, so he can have a bit more practice in the rucking encounters. What about Melbourne and Fremantle? Mick, this is the first of our Saturday games. Early start 11:20 our time. Melbourne are 3.10, Fremantle are $1.37, and the line there at 17.5.
Yeah, I think Fremantle will win. I reckon they'd be really looking forward to get to the MCG. Melbourne are a team that's in free fall at the moment. Their defensive profile is very ordinary for a team that was very strong in that component of the game 2 to 3 years ago. The old adage about them is they can't connect from midfield to their forward line. They've got players in front of the ball that are out of sorts at the moment, Van Ruin and also Fritz. They can't win enough ball to have shots at goal. So I think Freo's overall game will be too complete for Melbourne. I expect the Doctors to win and win well.
Adelaide take on the Giants in what is clearly one of the games of the round. Adelaide go in as favourites at home $1.80. GWS 202. The line at 2.5 points. Nothing separating these two teams, and the total points 184.5. No surprise there. Expecting a fast-flowing, high-scoring contest.
You'd think so. Adelaide love to attack and their ball movement's electric. The trouble with them is they can't kick the ball well out of D50. And if you've got a pressing team like GWS, if they hold their nerve and there's pressure at the source, they'll generate turnovers. And with the efficiency they've got, they'll go back in and hit the scoreboard. So I think that's where the game could be won or lost. I think they've got the wrong one favourite here. I reckon GWS deserve favouritism. I think we're one of probably three teams that are legitimate chance to be talked about as premiership contenders at this early stage. So I'm in the corner of GWS here. I can't believe they're not favourites.
I agree with you. I would have marked them the other way around. There's been a bit of a drift against GWS. Is that because Hogan? There's a doubt on Hogan, Riles? What have you heard?
That he's sore, but it would still surprise me if he doesn't play this game.
Mick, the one thing with Adelaide is they're conceding 92 points a game, and that's not going to win you or probably even get you into finals. So they need to fix that up. What have they got to do to bring that figure down?
Well, I think they can defend with the footy a bit more. It's attack, 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 and if we turn it over, we're a little bit offside, so they get exposed on the way back in. So sometimes you just got to control the tempo of the game, a bit like Geelong, when they control the tempo, a bit like Brisbane. It gives you time for your defenders to come forward to defend and shut down exits in case a turnover does present. But I just reckon that at the moment they're playing ballistic footy. They've got three key forwards they want to get the ball into quickly. They're doing their job. But if they do turn it over between the arcs, particularly against a good pressing team that can turn it over between the midfield area, that's when they get exposed on the way back in.
We're used to Lachie Whitfield being the key distributor off that half-back line for the Giants, but how good has the start to the season been for Lachie Ash?
Superb.
He's a good player, and we said it, I reckon, 3 or 4 years ago. They tried to make a tag around him, and at the end of the day, you're taking away a strength that I thought they needed, and that was for him. And they get the two of Ash and Whitfield to bounce out of defence, give them the footy. They'll penetrate the game with their legs, but also with their disposal. And all of a sudden, they get their counter-attack flowing, which complements their players in front of the ball. It just was a no-brainer. I thought they tried to be too tricky by half 3 years ago, and he lost his way a little bit. Seen him play since a kid, very talented boy, and I'm just wrapped for him that he's got back his mojo and his belief that he belongs at that level.
Okay, Richmond are playing the Gold Coast, 5:35 our time Saturday night. Tigers are out at $9, Gold Coast are $1.06, and the line's at 45.5.
I think Gold Coast will win. Marvel Stadium should hold no concern. They're in good form. Am I convinced they're the real deal yet? No, I'm not, because they haven't really beaten anyone. 3 of their victories have come against 3 teams that are in fourth last, second last, and last on the ladder as we currently speak. So until they get a scalp, and the scalps will start to come, if they do win against from round 7 till their bye, at round 14 they play 7 teams that are really good quality. I think we'll get a greater indication if they turn 5 wins, 2 losses against that quality that they're about to confront. We might have a different conversation. But right now, they should beat Richmond. Everyone's beaten up on Richmond. If they happen to get beat against the Tigers there at Marvel Stadium, maybe we'll have preempted they're not the real deal. I expect them to win this game, but I'm sort of reserved in my judgment at this moment in time. 2
games on Easter Sunday. Market for the first of these, very intriguing. Sydney at home taking on Port Adelaide, who have a very good record at the SCG. The Swans $1.44. Port Adelaide off the back of their win over the Hawks to round out gather round at $2.75. The line at 14.5, and the total points 173.5, Mick.
Well, if we see the Port of the first half last week, why are they $2.80, $2.85, $2.87? They're big odds, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, they are?
Yeah, they're big odds. Like, if you could trust them and say, let's go to Sydney at the SCG, Noah Marty, they've got key personnel on the sidelines in Papley and Mills. A couple of their players are just going. They're just right for the picking right now, the Swans. And Port, there's a manufactured emotion. They got up for that game against Hawthorn subside, and they find it more difficult this week to travel than get that emotional burst of energy to start the game well at the SCG. Well, time will tell, because the real Port, the consistent Port that we've known over the last 5 years, they can certainly win this game. But the one we've seen in 2025, they've had a bad loss, they responded, had a couple of bad losses, they've responded. Let's see if they can put 2 games together before we can actually tip them. But right now, if we knew they were going to reproduce their performance of last Sunday against the Hawks, I think they're the overs in the game.
Chad Warner's output the last couple of weeks has to be of a little bit of concern and not where he would want it to be.
Yeah, well, I call him the smiling assassin. I reckon he's got to get back to hunting the footy. I used to love him as a kid, and I spoke to Kinnear Beatson about him when he was working at the Sydney Swans, and he more or less labelled him that. He'd hunt for a footy, he'd be at the bottom of a pack, he'd smile when he'd come up, but he used to come up with a footy. And that's how hungry he was for the ball in his hands. We're not seeing that appetite like we saw at various stages last year. And this is the circuit breaker game that he might want and need, because he's coming up against Butters, he's coming up against Wines, Drew might go to him. So he's got some, he might have a target on his back, so he's got to roll up his sleeves to get to work.
Any word on McDonald? Is he going to be, well, I won't say rushed back into the team, but brought back into the team to replace a Marty?
No word as of right now, Marty. But it would surprise me if he played without having at least a week or two.
He's had one game in the two.
Did he play a full game?
Managed, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they might need him with their structure to bring him and bring him straight back in.
Was that one of the reasons last week, Mick, against Collingwood, that Sydney just couldn't get through that defensive web because they had no forwards to kick it to?
Well, it was a bit of that, but Collingwood just filled the midfield. I loved it how they covered the corridor, and they were in sync with each other. There's no doubt a lot of I call it the fly trap, was about their midfield game, and they really clogged up the corridor and took away the ball movement that City likes to go with. So it forced them wide, put them into a slow play. They didn't have numbers in front of the ball. They had to draw a contest down the line. Collingwood swarm. They got to the drop zone, and I thought they turned the ball over beautifully to go back in and score. I think a lot of the strategy behind the scenes, the training methods, watching Collingwood train, was all about bringing the ground into the size of the Adelaide Oval, and then seeing their players train against the B team was all about filling the corridor. So any Sydney Swans player or scout was going to watch Collingwood train. If he didn't see that, he's not good at his job. And they did it beautifully, and that's the reason why they really struggled to penetrate through that part of the ground, and that's why the forwards were starved of opportunity, particularly late in the game.
Okay. The second of the Easter Sunday games, Western Bulldogs play St Kilda at Marvel. They're $1.55 the Dogs, $2.45 St Kilda. The line there at 10.5.
Yeah, another even game here. I know the Western Bulldogs will be really disappointed about their fade-out last week when they were in control of the game against the Lions. The skipper returns. He's got to get through a training session, but my mail is he'll be right to play, so he'll be fresh. Put him in a multi, 20-plus disposals. I don't think Windhager will go to him first up. If he does, he'll go forward, and then they'll hand over. But Bontempelli, I reckon he's itching to get back in to lead this group to where he wants to be, and that's to play finals. He's missed the first 5 games with that mystery calf injury, but I think he might be a point of difference. He'll be jumping out of his skin. He'll be fresh as a daisy. Yes, he's not match fit, but do you watch class rise to the top? I'd be surprised if he didn't get 20-plus and maybe kick a couple of goals in his return.
Yeah, a lot of these star midfielders, Mick, are certainly very good and lively first up from a spell. There's no doubt about that. And the final game of this coming round is going to be an absolute beauty on Easter Monday. The Cats take on the Hawks in the traditional clash. The Cats $1.87, the Hawks $1.92. Nothing between them in the market. The line at 1.5 points. The total points 175.5, Mick. This is, for mine, clearly, as it stands, the game of the round.
Yeah, it's a beauty. I'm just looking forward to it and sit back, watch it, and see if Hawthorn are a team that I think they are. They haven't played complete footy to this stage, and let's face it, not many teams will. There's still a long way to go. But I think the Hawks really will accept this challenge and probably take it personally about their response last week, or their performance last week, I should say. And Geelong, on the other hand, they just get it done, don't they? They're a professional outfit. Stewart comes back in. Probably Scrimshaw comes straight back into that team. Who's going to play on Dangerfield when he's forward? Do they give a young job to a 21-year-old in Weddle who's 191 centimetres, can jump over steeplechases at Aintree? I'm just really interested to see how they'll go about their back end with matchups. I thought they looked slow at times last week with Barras, Battle, Sicily in that back end. Their system failed them. We saw some vision during the week. Sicily finger pointing. Barras didn't work over. They had offside slide to help. Didn't happen. D50 stoppages. Morrison didn't want to engage Burgoyne. He waltzes through the gate and kicks an easy goal. You can't win premierships with that being allowed. So I think that would have been addressed strongly. I think we're going to see a defensive shake-up from all involved wearing a Hawthorn Guernsey on the weekend. So they don't do it. One thing we do know, Geelong will be able to control the ball through kick mark. They'll own the footy. Time in possession is their go-to. And generally, if they have more time in possession than what their opposition do, it equates to winning games of footy. So they've got to take it away from them.
I heard Adam Simpson have interviewed today, and he was asked about coaches that he always struggled to come up against, and he said Chris Scott was the one. He just couldn't get near him. And the record, I know for a lot of it, Hawthorn haven't been much good. But they weren't going that bad when they played Geelong last year and got beat 110-59. They haven't beaten them for a long time under Mitchell. I'm just wondering whether or not Chris Scott, one, may have them worked out, and two, is probably the reason why I went for Geelong last week, because I was pretty confident that he'd win the coaching battle as well.
Yeah, that's fair. He's just got an imposing record. He's a winning coach. He's got some outstanding leaders on that ground that know what to do at any given time. And then you become an extension of the coach's staff because you're starting to think like one in the box, but you're out in there in real time. Yeah. I think Dangerfield's elevated himself to that person now. The intelligence of Jeremy Cameron, don't underestimate him. I think he's got a commission to get involved high up the ground if he's been starved of opportunity. He gets a lick of the ice cream between the arcs. His field kicking's elite. And then when he feels like he's up and about again, he goes back and engages with his matchup, and because he's been involved in the play, he starts to get involved in hitting the scoreboard, which he did last weekend. So I think Scott empowers his players really well. He understands when to go fast, when to go slow. He knows when to take the sting out of the game, which they'll try to do at Hawthorn if Hawthorn get a run on. But I'm really intrigued to see what their defence looks like against Hawthorn's small forwards, because while they got O'Dear and Lewis is in the grandstand and Marby Choles one out basically in front of the ball, is Sam Mitchell going to do some sort of surprise this week? Start swiftly forward because Scrimshaw's coming back. Weddle gets a chance. Parass and Battle are there with Impey, and also aim on zinging off half-back. Does Hardwick and Sicily sort of start forward and give them an extra potency towards their forward end. That will make Stewart and these type of defenders really engage quality players that they probably haven't been used to playing on.
Okay, that wraps up our look at this coming round of football, Mick. Did we have a multi for our listeners or any stronger plays for yourself across the weekend?
I'm pretty keen on that first play tonight. I just can't wait to sit back, and I wouldn't be surprised if either team won, so I'm going to take 15 points or less and take that $2.75 on offer. I think Carlton, it's short enough. I could entertain in a single bet head-to-head North Melbourne at the odds. Essendon are a chance to win and win well, I think. So please yourself there with line betting. I will take Jeremy Cameron 2 or more goals in a multi. That's around the $1.47, $1.50 mark. I'm definitely going to take disposal betting Bontempelli 20 plus and even factor in a goal if you can get that in some of your exotic plays. And Sam Walsh, I think, is the other one who's starting to work into a bit of footy fitness. I'd be taking him 25 plus in disposals. He's around $1.33 at the moment. So a bit of a different way to approach it this week, fellas. But I think it gives you sort of engagement within the game when you take individuals with disposals or goals or a combination of both. So if you get that right, I think you'll get a pretty good return.
Now, Mickey, just before we let you go, you might be in a little bit of danger, I think, at the head of the mantle for being the best footballer in your family, mate. The young fella had a nice game on the weekend, 38 touches and 10 clearances, if you don't mind. That's a fair day out.
Couldn't get a kick in a stampede. Don't praise him too much. No, he's going all right. He's going okay. He's just got to keep his head on the ground, feet on the ground, which he'll do. He's a humble kid, and it's all about performance and backing it up. He's got to play in the Vic Metro Trials tomorrow. We've got a local game tomorrow with Good Friday, so I won't see him live, but I'll certainly sit down and review the game like we always do and try to give him some sort of advice from a coaching perspective, take the dad's hat off and put the coach's hat on, and then we start arguing.
Well, he can find the footy, no dramas. That is for sure. And, Mick, did we have any trots tips for our listeners this evening before we let you go?
Ballarat.
Yeah, it's a tough meeting. I think race 1, number 2 might spear to the front and be very hard to beat. That's Major Crunch in the first. In race 3, I reckon there's a good chance here to back each of 2 here. I think 1 will spear through and lead for Peckham McCallum, number 1, Feeling Good Freddie. And I reckon, even though there's no sprint lane, I reckon 8's going to get a soft run. It's going better than its figure form, particularly last start, around the $7 mark. So I could back each of 2 there, 1 and have a saver bet on 8, but find a profit. That's been a way to go recently when we've been talking to you guys over there. And I think in race 4 on the program, in a difficult, very difficult race, there's a couple here at overs. I reckon number 8 might get a soft run, and it represents pretty good odds around the $10 on an each-way basis. Our old favourite, Oscar Bravo, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it runs well. We sort of tipped it a few weeks ago at big odds and went okay. There might be a chance to find the front here for David Murphy. And so I could back 4 Oscar Bravo and save on number 8. I definitely want to have a bet in race 7, which I will be. I haven't done it yet. But I want to have something on number 9 each way. I reckon it's going pretty good for Matthew Gaff. If it stays in its gate, I reckon the $9 is overs. So I'm anticipating it'll shorten up in the marketplace, but I could certainly have a bet on it on an each-way basis.
Frankie the Frenchman, race 7, number 9. That's it?
That's it, mate.
Beautifully done, Mick, for Dankz Furniture. Great to catch up again. I hope you have a wonderful Easter over there. Enjoy all the footy, and we'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Mick.
Yeah, you too, guys. Enjoy Easter.
The Perth Racing Preview is where the Straight Up team finds you the winners, and here's the Straight Up team with their preview of Saturday racing from Ascot.
Oh, he's back. McGinnity.
Hi, Bart.
Hey, Brad.
Hi, Riley.
How are you?
Wonderful.
I bet you've been thinking about this day for a while.
Yeah. Some sleepless nights.
Obviously.
Yeah. Some sleepless nights.
And that would go hand in hand with being married as well, those sleepless nights?
No, that bit's been
already done and dusted.
Easy and comfortable and fantastic. There's no complaints there.
The surname maintenance that was taking place.
It's gone reasonably well so far.
It's very early days, mate.
Well, it just rolled into yesterday at Pinjarra as well, if you don't mind, punters. The redback flyer, the big fella, just lumbering along.
Yeah, he's
won very well.
Thank God.
A bit of fun, isn't he?
Very well.
What have I missed? Been good? Show been good?
Oh, you got big boots to fill. Russell Collette's been in outstanding form.
Props to the great man, Rusty.
Queen of Jerusalem last week.
Old Rusty Trombone.
No, he's been very good,
I
Russell.
loved his indicative markets rolls.
He's not bad.
I wish I could go up at 160% for every race too. That'd be outstanding.
Oh, now, hang
Jeez.
on. Now, settle
Come
down.
on.
Relax.
I ran the
Come
calcs on him.
on.
Take
We
it
haven't even
easy.
started. We've been back for all the best in 90 seconds, and he's already getting prickly.
Yellow card areas, Russell. Lift your game, champion.
He'll be listening. Now, we've got a massive day out there on Saturday, have we not? And
Mark, couldn't price a litre of fuel if he was parked at Caltex.
No, I'm going with Russell. He stands up every Saturday with a satchel over his shoulder. You don't. He puts his hard-earned money on the line. You sit up there alongside of him, and let's see who ends up with the most coin. Hey? How you going now, champ?
At 160%.
We've got racing Saturday, but also got the Good Friday meeting Friday.
Yeah, question for you, Bradley. When can we expect prices for that Good Friday meeting tomorrow to be up with Tab Touch? Because currently still nothing there at the moment. Do you have an idea?
If they're not up by now, I'm tipping about 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Some big news on the Kalgoorlie meeting too for Good Friday. They've had 40 mil of rain up until 1 a.m. this morning, and it's still raining. So they've got a track inspection 5:30 this afternoon, Riles. Was that right? I've got
5 p.m.
5 p.m.
Track inspection with a bit more rain expected tonight, from what I understand.
Cheapers creepers. The old KBRC, they didn't have enough water. Now they've got too much.
It's always the way, isn't it?
When it rains, it pours.
Alanis Morissette wrote a song about that.
So Friday, Saturday back up.
Rail true.
Big rail switch from Friday to Saturday, and slightly different wind conditions too. It looks like a southeasterly rolls on Saturday.
Yeah, very gentle. Doesn't look like anything to really impact play, I wouldn't have thought. Just a gentle southeasterly, pretty cool conditions, 23 degrees, and yeah, you might need the vest.
The vest.
Do you reckon we play on pace until it proves otherwise?
I think so, mate. Plus 11 on Friday, back into the true on Saturday.
11 metres of fresh pad.
Text line's up and about.
0427 789 571 for Retrovision.
Fired up.
Let's go.
Fred's fired up. Fred from Frio's fired up.
He's a beauty. What's he
says,
come up
"G'day,
with?"
champions. Quick tip for Bradley next time he goes on annual leave. wipe your search history, then give your colleague your login details so we can have a bet earlier than 6 a.m. on race day. That's from Fired Up Fred.
Well, I did half of that.
And Jared from Scarborough. His punting, he says, has been a little bit off the last few weeks, and he thinks he's put it down to not knowing how the track will play each and every Saturday. And he's hoping, well, we've just given it to him. The early thoughts from McGinnity is a big factor in whether or not he comes away from a Saturday meeting in the green. So Jared's very happy to have you back, Bradley. And Bluey on the text line is fired up.
Blue.
Everyone's fired up this afternoon. This is
Easter.
good.
We love it.
He's fired up. He's fired up about Oscar Allen. He has to be dropped, not rested. How can your captain be managed after one of the worst games in club history?
You wouldn't have thought he was too tired, would you? Eh?
Here, Mart.
I want to know, what is it with the pipe in Essendon? He's been just having sneaky shots at us all year. He rated before the season started that North Melbourne would be a better side than Essendon.
Let's be careful here. I'm a big fan of the pipe.
Yeah, he hasn't had a good year, Pipe. Hasn't been a stellar year.
On his predictions or his...
No, or overall performance. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, no, I'm coming for him. But he just,
You're a regular listener.
I love the Pipe, but he hasn't this hasn't been one of his stellar years. I think there's something going on behind the scenes.
Wow. Turn it up, Pipe.
Yeah, he needs to lift.
Running out of yellow cards here.
Yeah. Any others while we're in a good mood?
Warming up.
The acid's been put to you, Dwayne.
Secor Handicap will kick it off at Ascot on Saturday. It's over the 1,000 metres, and at number one is Keep It. I tell you what I did miss was the Meerkats. I did miss the Meerkats. Wasn't there a few in your absence? What's been going on there?
Just opinions, mate. Just opinions.
Well, there was one last week. There was one that was 7.50 into about 3.30 or 3.20 by the time we got to it. Can't remember what horse it was.
Is that Radio?
Yes.
That was ludicrously short.
That was the one.
Let's be honest, that late.
Started 2:35.
Yeah, that was incredible. I don't know what was going on there.
Is there one on the retrovision about the speed maps as well? There would be, wouldn't there? Because in your absence, I've been producing speed maps and they've been out of this world.
Something from Narelle from Navigators on the text line.
Those speed maps.
No, they'll be coming again. Don't worry. I've got them all lined up. I spent plenty of time on them overnight.
All nine races?
All nine. I've done the lot.
You have been
How's
busy.
Dougal been, Mark?
I stepped on his tail today. He didn't like it. But he yelped. I thought you're tougher than that, dude. No. Just imagine the dog. He's just lying there all happy, just dozing around. All of a sudden, just plonks a 92 kilo. Bang.
92?
Cop that, young Harry.
Size
What do you
13
think, I'm a bit heavier or
on you.
Were you carrying a 40-kilo barbell or something?
What do you think I'm...
Probably
Not 92.
Are you looking fit?
Oh, stop it. No, nowhere near it. One, Keep It a Mystery is $7. Two, Daytona Pete, $3.90 to $3.20. Flagship, $8 to $6.50. Four, Black Aura. What about our man, Adam Durant? As he's just said, look, I'm back. I'll show you how this caper's done. $2.75. 5 is Hobbler is 16. 6, Rise to Glory. Stable name there is McGinnity, 21 into 16. Then number 7 is Nicky Motor, 12 into 9. And Sesh, 41 to 26.
We'll start with Daytona Pete. Good level of backing for this steed. 700 at 390, 750 at 370, and 1,000 at 340. Flagship, Eastern States. Pro ESPs, they're back, Mark. Did they ever leave? 300 at the 750. Black Aura's a bit of money starting to pile up there, and plenty of the old rank and file money for Daytona Pete, Mart.
Right, I better look at this. I've got Nicky Motor from 1 and Hobbler 2 as the obvious leaders, and maybe Keep It a Mystery comes over from 8. Barrier 8, I should say.
Gee, you're bang on the money, mate.
Yeah, well, that was an easy one. I got Ezra to do the map on this one.
Well, I don't know why I'm doing them. I might just message you from now on and get you to flick them across.
Right. Okay.
You can do the speed maps and I'll do the rest.
martsmaps.com.
That's it. I've been after a name. That's it. martsmaps.com. I like it.
Mart's Maps. There you go. I'm a big fan of Daytona Pete, who resumes here off a recent trial down the straight at Pinjarra, which some say might have been a little bit unders on what might have been expected from him, but I'm not a huge knock on the trial. I just think he did what he had to do on that occasion. He's a really progressive 3-year-old, as we know, very well related as well, being the full brother of former stable star Red Can Man. You go back and you watch his Saturday win in 3-year-old company. The last time we saw him at the races, he box-seated a fast run, 1,200 metres, and just won incredibly well, like a horse who could really go through the grades and keep improving. I think he should be able to slide forward here into a prominent position in running and should get the run he needs to make his presence felt on return, Brad. I think he's a pretty nice horse, and this is a field that certainly you can make a case for a number of others, but I just thought Daytona Pete's a horse that I had stamped as one that when he did return was one that I wanted to keep following as well.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a head-scratcher, the trial, wasn't it? But no doubt a horse that's going places. So, yeah, it does look one of the main chances in the race. Mart, I'm staying out, Mart. You like something here? This is one of yours.
Oh, I'm a bit of a fan of Black Aura. I just love the way it resumed. What's happened, mate? What's happened to this man?
Oh, no.
Something. Is he okay?
Yeah, I think he's all right.
He's choked down. Might be a tongue-tie job. Black Aura. Did you like its return, Roz? I thought it was very impressive. I know it was only Pinjarra, but it just joined in.
Yeah.
Weed on them, didn't it?
Yeah.
I just don't understand why you'd go back to 1,000 metres.
Oh, is that what worries you?
Yeah.
Black playing God.
Back in distance. Second up. Nice horse. Second pick for me. One under a handbrake. Was a weak field. But yeah, she's clearly dangerous late with the right run. No doubt about that. Flagship, another one. Back in distance. Thought the win, it was a strong win. Strong run, 1,200 metres, and was only really winding up over the concluding stages, I thought, Flagship. He goes back to the 1,000, and Keep It a Mystery is a really nice horse. Has been fresh in 35 days since we last saw him winning very well, but it does look a very tricky little map for Braden Garth to navigate.
So you're in the book, race 1, Daytona Pete.
Yeah, I like Daytona Pete as a horse. I'm happy to not read too much into the trial, especially down the straight at Pinjarra. Even though he has run well, has won down the straight at Pinjarra previously. I just don't think he was asked for a great deal and was just there for a tune-up. So Daytona Pete for me.
Okay, on to race number 2, the Pepsi Max Plate over the 1,000 metres. 2-year-olds go out at one and statewide at $3.60. Delta Sun $3.80 to $3. Lanfranco's $26. Crashed and Burned is $20. Blow Me Kisses $3.90. Shiz Daval is $26. Daval. Majestic View $34. Not a lot of action here. Perfect Sister is $7 and Valane Door is $12. Not a lot of action at all.
Yeah, pretty quiet one, Mart.
Yeah, 2-year-olds.
I think most of the flux have been markets merging. So,
Not
a great deal of activity to speak of, Rolls. So we'll get stuck straight into it.
Yeah, really intriguing 2-year-old race with a last gasp attempt on offer, Brad, for these to make their way into a Karrakatta Plate if they were able to come away from it victorious, and the market's clearly zeroed in on 3 key chances. Marty, did you want to take a look at the map before we get stuck into the form?
I just thought always the 2-year-olds are a bit tricky, but maybe Blow Me Kisses. Jade McNaught could be your leader.
Yeah, I agree. I thought she looked your leader, and as a result holds the aces on her key rivals here, being a race run over 1,000 metres. I thought the blinkers going on really sharpened her up in her most recent 400-metre jump out. She wears them here for the first time on race day, has only had the one career start as well, and the time she ran in that 400-metre jump out was pretty quick for the morning. She looks as though she's a sharp little filly, and the fact that she's likely to be in front turning for home with her main dangers worse than midfield, particularly Delta Sun, who's drawn very awkwardly again and likely to get out the back. I just thought that perhaps the ball, or she held the aces from that regard, Brad. In 2-year-old races, half the battle is being able to draw a barrier and finding yourself in those first few in running.
Yeah, when you've got... It seems like there's a lot of midfield to back marking types as well, doesn't there, Rolls? So when you've got that one leader, you've certainly got to respect it, and the market obviously does. Things are going to have to go very, very right for Delta Sun in the run for you to make a case at $3, don't they?
Mm.
So it's very tricky. So where I'm leaning towards is, the obvious would be Blow Me Kisses. At least statewide is going to be close enough to the fence to have a crack at chasing it down.
Yeah, it just didn't step first up. Really slow out of the barriers. I know the low draw probably helps, but he's another one, Brad, who scratched from a very winnable race, 1,200 metres yesterday, to save for this, dropping back to the 1,000 metres for a horse that, for mine, was only really getting wound up late over the 1,200 metres as well. So that is a concern for me with Statewide, who's a horse I really like, and I tipped into him first up at the 1,200 metres on the each-way basis as well. So there's just a few concerns for me with him, and I share your concerns with Delta Sun. Can't knock anything he's done. We saw that supremacy form hold up in the gym crack really well. So he brings the right form to the race, but again, I think we might see his best over further than 1,000 metres, and he's going to leave himself again with a lot to do from where he's drawn.
Yeah, it'll take a steer. Sneaky out wide, I want to mention Shiz Duval. I think it was a pretty forgivable debut. I definitely like the trials and think there's something there to be seen with this horse, and that'll go into my knobs at any old price late, Mart.
Tricky little race. That's it. Happy with it? Okay, I'll just update Pakenham race number 3, which is 8 minutes away. 1 Eugene Sister, 151. 4 Villa Royales, $5. Number 5 is Antalion, a 17, a big drifter. 6 is Baywatch. 5 into 320, continues to shorten. 7 J. Sung Ma, 101. 8 Montjuice Magic is $4.80. 9 Sudden Change, 9 to 750. And 5 into 3 down the bottom, You Wrote You Ponnet. Is that how you'd say it? Anyway, that's what I'm saying at this stage. Or we could call it Larry.
Got some news filtering through that Racing WA has announced a broadcast partnership that the full coverage of the Quokka will be showcased live on free-to-air with racing.com this year. So there you go.
Yes, that's good. Announced. That's a good move. Okay, they're in the yard there. Pakenham, we've got a chance to have a look at Ascot race number 3, the Lipton Iced Tea Handicap over the 1,000 metres. And this is time to go 4 minutes past 1 o'clock. Number 1, Avoidance, back 9.13 and stays at 13. 2, Shooting Spirit, 6.950 back to 8. 3, Talkin' Gibberish, 5, 6.50 into 4.80. 6, Evelina, you still involved there?
Oh, the People's Mare.
Yeah, 13, 31 and stays there. No, Prospector's Pick, are you still involved there, Rolls? 290 into 270. 6 is 6 Shooter. So it's 6 Shooter is 650 into 390. And 7 First Beach is 750. And 8 On the Full is just been spec'd, 101 into 41.
Well, Mart, they've borrowed Mitch Pateman's phone. They've sent out text messages. They've backed the truck up. Riley's called upon his million contacts. And they're keen on Prospector's Pick. Where do we start? The 290, 1,050. They said, we'd like it again, champs. I said, no, sorry, you've had enough. We'll get to 275. I had another 1,000, another 1,000, another 1,000 at the 275. Wow. Into 265, another 500, another 500. Market's settled a bit now, but we're exposed enough. And then they lined up 6 Shooter as well.
Yep.
They've started cracking there early at the 650. Well played, 400 at the 650. 600 at the 460 and a couple of 800s at the 390 and 360. 6 Shooter.
Good race.
The last of which can probably be had again. Aside from that, a little bit of ESP money talking gibberish. So Bit of money being spread, local pro money avoidance as well, Ross.
Yeah, there's no shortage of speed in this contest, is there, Mart? We might throw it over to you.
Yeah, avoidance to come over from 6 and talking gibberish, kicking up from 1.
Prospector's pick can go pretty quick as well, so they look the 3 key speed horses in the race.
Is that the plan with him? Pick?
He's a horse that is naturally
quick, isn't he?
quick.
Yeah.
So I'd anticipate that he will push forward and try and hold a position in the first 3. Whether he has the speed to cross talk and gibberish, I highly doubt, but I still think he'll find his spot. As you said, avoidance will come across to look for the breeze under Sean McGruddy. Our favourite here, Prospector's pick. I thought he trialled enormous down the straight at Pinjarra. It was a very slick run heat as well, and he really wasn't asked for a great deal. Ideally, Brad, I would have loved a map where he could find the top. I doubt he's going to have the speed to cross talk and gibberish drawn barrier 1. He's very quick, but I do still think he's capable of sitting in behind them or even outside the lead if he kicks up and avoidance can't get across to win the race. I'm just wary that both of his career wins have come when he's been able to just find the front and lead throughout and run them along. So he still has to tick that versatility box here, Brad, and I think it's a really good opportunity for him to do so. He's got Willie Pike on board, and just looking at his trial, he just seems to, his actions smoothed out a bit in his time off. He's not as erratic as he was early doors, Marty.
I'll have a look at it.
And he looks as though he may have matured a little bit. At least I hope he's matured a little bit off in his time off now that he's had a good, decent break as well. So I think if you line up all the pieces of work for these horses that do attack this 1,000-metre race first up, and there are some nice ones, Prospector's pick 6 Shooter, First Beach. Of all of their work leading in, I thought his was comfortably the best, so I was happy to put him on top, and I thought 6 Shooter was the clear danger for mine, Brad, as well. So they'd be the 2 that I'd be looking at here, and that's the way the market's got it as well at the moment.
The market certainly agrees. There is some chance they overcook it and it sets up for a run on horse. Some chance. There's also some chance Prospector's pick gets to the front. You've got Alicia having her first ride on a Saturday?
Yep.
I think so. There's some chance when W. Pie Campbell's up alongside you that can certainly play some games with your mind, I would have thought. So there's a few ways this could play out, but for me, I really liked the trial of First Beach, and it's pretty progressive. It obviously just had enough at its last start last prep, I would have thought, so it's out to a nice each-way price. And a horse like Shooting Spirit to tag and ping, it's a pretty healthy each-way price there is one I could entertain as well. But full of respect for the well-supported runners too, so won't be going over the top.
Okay, are you in the book or not?
No, I'm
too short.
Leaving him out of the book for now. Got him on top, but leaving him out of the book.
Is that a bit of a owner? You're just a little bit.
Well, I marked him $3.
Right.
He's currently $2.70.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So if thereabouts the mark.
If he puts up $3, you're going to have some of it.
Oh, maybe something a bit longer, a little bit more meat on the bone. I am petrified of 6 Shooter, who I think's a really nice horse and just maps really well if they do. As Brad said, they might overcook things. There's plenty of speed in this race. So I think Brad Parnham can just slot in behind that speed, and he looks a really progressive 3-year-old as well, and he trailed super also.
No penguin sightings of late? Very quiet.
Funny you mentioned. We got one off the text line. Duppy's back. He's had a hiatus similar to yours, Bradley. He's been a bit quiet the last few weeks.
He went to Greenland for a break.
Yeah, he says, hi all, Duppy here. McGinnity on his high horse early. I thought Rusty priced his markets fair and square and even found us a few winners over the last few weeks, unlike his counterparts in the studio, Oscar Allen and Liam Duggan, referring to myself and Mart. And he also says...
Let's leave it out.
He says, Mart's maps have caused me about as much confusion as speaking to women in the flesh. And there has been a Peng sighting. He was sighted down at North Fremantle Oval last weekend. And thankfully, in good news, he was moved on by the authorities.
Well, he goes down there with the liniment and says, I'll just rub your calves, boys. And I say, hang on, you've been pulling that one for too long. Out you go, chap. Now, the Mauler, since you've been away, he's been in terrific form. Although last week was a wipeout. He actually threatened no more alcohol and no more bets on Monday, and that lasted till about the 4 o'clock at Northern Dogs. He had Shane Train's tips.
Oh.
But the Mauler's gone Black Aura statewide prospectors pick. There you go.
Wow.
That's lining up okay.
It is. And one of our listeners as well as texting Martin, they might be suggesting that you don't actually do your speed maps. You just get them off the peng and claim them as your own.
I mightn't be peng I'll get them off, but I get them off some way.
The Perth Racing Preview is where the Straight Up team finds you the winners, and here's the Straight Up team with their preview of Saturday racing from Ascot.
Thanks, TJ. Now, Pakenham race number 3, it was 10, 4, 8 and 9, and you wrote upon it. Jordan Childs, 380, 160. Nice horse. By Rope, Villa Royale, 140. And Mont Juice Magic at 150. Quinella, $11. Exacta, 17.40. Trifecta, 66.90. First 4, 10, 4, 8, 9, 156.90. 6 and 10, the double 18, 22. And 3 out. Pakenham race 4 goes in 22. Over the 1,000 metres for the Class 1s. 1, Because You're Mine is $5. 3 transactions, $3. Little Quinella there. 4 Dayella is $2. 5 Free to Play is $6.50, and 7 Machine Gun Ron at $34. We are up to race number 4 out there at Ascot on Saturday, being Derby Day. What a day it should be. The Tab Touch West Speed Platinum Autumn Series Heat number 1. It's over the 1,200 metres, and it is start to time at 1:44. Hymns of Valadair is $5. Calvinator. Wasn't a bad run the other day, 31.26. 3 Bondi Plunge, $4 from 460. 4 Let's Talk, 260, 290 back to 260. 5 Pull the Trigger, 12 out to 20. 6 My Lovely Pet, 15 into 10. 7 Cryptic Joy, around that $14 mark. 8 Like No Other is 51. Number 9 Ocean Goddess, 13 into 850. And Yelling Gup Girl is 26.
Good betting race, Mart. Heaps of money flying around here. So we've got Eastern States Pro Money Let's Talk, 1,300 there at the 265. My Lovely Pet is getting local sharp money and Eastern States money each way. Bondi Plunge, local pro, 600 at the 440. Yep, Kelvinator, a bit of each way money there, Mart. Someone agrees with you. Ocean Goddess, also quite well specced by the ESPs. So it's a good spread.
Pretty deep little West Speed race. This one, there's good spread of talent across race 4 in the program. I'm a big fan of the favourite, Let's Talk. I think he's a really progressive horse. I thought the 1,000 was always going to be a little bit short for him, but he was still far too good for them first up off a couple of super trials, and he was absolutely annihilated in betting that day as well, Brad, which is a really good sign. There's a massive opinion of this galloper. He gets out to 1,200 here. I thought he could slide forward into a prominent role. Is that how you felt as well, Marty, from a map perspective?
As you boys would like to say, it's a bit of a Lionel map, isn't it? That's a bit...
Sponsored by martsmaps.com.
I'm not too sure about this one. Who did you have going forward? I thought Kelvinator could.
Let's Talk and Kelvinator were the two, I thought.
Yeah, I thought with Alex Hearn back on board, My Lovely Pet could kick through and hold a prominent position from barrier 1 as well. But yeah, back to Let's Talk. I think he's a genuine Saturday horse, and now the box that he has to tick is being able to handle that corner and that bend at Ascot, which he did show in his initial campaign that he was unable to. He really hung out around it in his first couple of attempts. So that's the box that he still has to tick. But just watching the professionalism of his win there first up and how he trialled, I think he may have really matured off the break and come back a bigger and better horse this time in. So I'm happy to put him in the book, Mart. Let's Talk. I really like him as a type, and I'm going to throw in my man, Bunga Hearn, at double-figure odds as well with My Lovely Pet as a little two-horse play here, who's just absolutely flying this time in for Bronwyn Matheson. I thought he was a relatively one-dimensional horse and that he had to lead to win and it had to be over 1,000 metres, but he ran the quickest last two home. Last start in a fast run 1,200 behind Jazz Session, who's absolutely airborne, and thought there was a slight chance if he begins that he could kick through and potentially even lead them up here from barrier one with Alex back on, who has been aboard for all three of his wins this prep, so they clearly get on very well.
I think from memory has beaten Santanova when leading as well, so obviously, if my memory serves me correctly, and the horse has certainly showing more versatility this prep, so it has to be right there, and there's money to indicate as such. Very even race, isn't it? Right? I mean, in regards to, I could even look at roughies like Yelling Up Girl and Pull the Trigger into Novs to run good races, because they've shown they're more than capable on their day. So really even affair, and as Mark said, Kelvinator can run a race too.
What about the gear change here that Adam has pulled on blinkers first time, winkers off, Hymns of Aladdin?
I thought it was an interesting move.
14 back to the 12? Just to sharpen him up?
Yeah.
If it works, watch out.
Gee, we've seen that a fair bit the last few weeks.
They're coming back.
Dropping back in trip.
So you're not a coming back fan.
But not just dropping back in trip.
Yeah.
Horses that have won dropping back in trip.
You're saying that they've won and then dropped back in trip?
Yes. Yeah. We've seen that more the last few weeks than I think I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's not generally one of mine, but you have to have your rules and what you like from a formula perspective when you do these sort of races, Martin. You have to stick to it. It's probably one for me that hasn't been the greatest in terms of following horses dropping back in distance in my time doing the form, but I know some love it.
Yeah.
So, Bondi Plunge, another had excuses first up. Apprentice's only race, gets a senior jockey on board, gets a nice barrier, should improve the run, and I thought the second up win last campaign was massive, so have to have plenty of respect for Bondi Plunge as well. And just one out wide, have to touch on Ocean Goddess for Jess Carberry, who gets Sean O'Donnell on board second up. I thought the run first up, no trial, off a decent spell was massive, given the pattern of the day. I'm not sure this is the setup, given she is likely to find herself last in running from the barrier. It does look a tricky map for her, but gee, she looks a progressive playing god, lightly raced 4-year-old, and looks to have plenty of ability. And we saw Ukai, who won that race, come out and win again in very impressive fashion there at Pinjarra yesterday to frank the form.
Yep.
Right. I'm a bit of a Hymns of Aladdin fan. I've had a good preparation with him, and I think $5 each way is backable. I think so.
You asking or telling?
No, I'm trying to talk myself into it. Race 5, Coolridge handicap over the 1400.
Just wanted that positive reassurance,
and it's not coming.
It's just cricket.
So I'm glad because a lot of times I don't need it from you two. I'm with who is Dubsy? Duppy, yeah.
You're confusing him, Mark.
Once.
Be more clear.
5 out to 8. Number 2, so lucky. 440 to 360. Now, here we go. Western Power. First of the day. 360 to 275. 4, Simply Thinking 20. 5, Masterly 10. 6, Sports Talk 41. 7, Bondi Bay 31. Number 8, Hammer Mill 550. In from 7. 9, War Matters is $17, and 10, Pure Obsession. We've had a few of them at 41.
Mart.
Yes.
This is a nice betting race. They've, as you alluded to,
loosened up the shoulders
with that little bit of whiplash you just got. Western Power, pretty keen early. What do we got? 360, 800 there, the 340, another 900, 1,000 at the 280. Another 1,000 at the 310. So lucky. Eastern States pros like this steed a little bit. 600 at the 440 and 800 at the 380. Pure Obsession, some good each way support there. It's getting stepped away quite nicely, and local pro also keen. Hammermill there at the bigger price. A couple there actually at the $7 and the $6. So a reasonable spread of money, but there's a lot of them queuing up Western Power. It and Prospectors Pick are probably two of our biggest stands of the day.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty keen Western Power, Marty. I thought he was the best bet on the program. For mine,
Nice horse.
I loved his trial leading into his first up run. He was really well tried in betting, despite obviously with what occurred at Pinjarra in the week leading in, losing Chris Parnham, who was intended to ride him on that occasion. He was replaced by Troy Turner, and Troy didn't really do a lot wrong from barrier one. He just never got room and was never afforded the opportunity to have a crack at them late when he needed to, and should have finished a lot closer to Angel Undercover and our Rocky Bay in 66 plus. Company was still only beaten a touch over a length, and gee, that pair of horses would be very well regarded in a graduation 60 plus here. Marty, I would have thought jockey change with Clint Johnson-Porter jumping on board. That's a tick. Should be able to sit a pair closer at least in running here from the barrier, and should improve for having that first up run under the belt as well. I think it's a really good race for him back in class, and pretty keen on Western Power.
I thought the map, we didn't talk about it, but Master Leader lead from barrier 3?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, looks a soft lead. Or
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, pretty soft, and I thought that Speak to Me might try and get across to the breeze.
With maybe a Sports Talk or Pure Obsession, yeah, there's a few of those that might just go forward a little bit. But I'm keen Speak to Me each way on that. Also on that thought process that it could get across to the breeze and have a nice cosy run. I couldn't have trolled much better. He's a very capable horse. Getting $8-9 each way, that's good enough for me. I didn't have a great deal between about four of them. Did have Western Power favourite, but I'm not going to get the price I want by any stretch.
Yeah, second pick for me, Speak to Me, and I think the important thing for him, as you mentioned, Brad, if he can get to the breeze, he can give this race a real shake.
Okay, we move on to race number 6. That is the Schweppes WATC Derby over the 2,400 metres, Group 2. And it is time to go at 3 o'clock. What a race we've got. Sales session, $4.20. Open at $3.60. Max Who's Staffin, $9.15. Number 3, Net Zero, is 12 out to 19. 4, Machine Gun Gracie, $1.70, $1.75. Then they said, right, that's enough. $1.60. Noah Quintilly, 26 into 18. Number 6 is Fun Charles, $6.56. And 7, Summers Legacy, 41, and just a little speck into 31.
What about these Gracie bets, Mart?
Wow.
The good filly.
Yep.
$4,000 at $1.60, $3,000 at $1.70, $1,000 at $1.60, $1,000 at $1.60, $1,000 at $1.60, $1,000 at $1.70, $500 at $1.60. Nothing more to speak of. It's just all one-way traffic for the good filly.
Donga takes it to the front and leads. And does Max Who's Staffin and Luke Campbell just from barrier 2 take the trail?
Don't think it'll matter. How do they beat her?
No. Wow, that was a good win last time, wasn't it?
You just look at her preparation. It's just been incredible. One of the more impressive maiden performances I think I've seen personally in recent seasons. What she was able to do there at Pinjarra that Sunday afternoon, had to absorb a mountain of pressure and still somehow kicked to run second in that 1,000 guineas. Ran them ragged in the Natasha. Then last start, the most impressive of the lot, Mart.
Well, she still broke 2:30 and they sort of walked a bit early, which preempted that move by Pike on Fun Child, but they've still ran 2:29.28.
It's a hard thing to do, Mart, when you get taken on having already established the lead during the race to then have to take the rest of the field up to the new pacemaker. Mm-hmm. And then to not only do that, but take over and win with the ease that she did. That was just the most impressive part about it.
It was insane, really, the way and how easy she won on the line, just careering away. And we'd spoken, and you'd sort of made a point for the Peters horse. I was a bit stronger that Fun Child could close the gap on where they were in the Natasha.
He gave it every chance.
But what a ride by Pike to do that. I loved it. I know the owners loved it, and Grant and Alana said, well, why not?
Yeah, 100%. And I think for the favourite, here as well. What she showed last start is now we know she can lead, and we know that if something wants to go silly to take her on, that she can just sit in behind them and still beat them. I just found it impossible to find an argument against her, and the girls' lead-up races have, for mine, been a fair bit stronger than the boys.
Has there been, or can you remember, a better one-prep performance of a horse than this one? In its first prep?
You're pretty chuffed getting to the races, in early February, and now we're mid-April, and you've banked $275,000 and another $60 in Westspeed bonuses. That's a good ownership experience, and more to come by the looks of things.
You would say so, and as you rightly said, Riles, the win at Pinjarra was, outstanding.
It's incredible.
And her first start was on the 2nd of February, this campaign. And she's just done... It's amazing. Goes to say a lot about the training here from Justine as well, just to get it right. Because if
her whole team is humming at the moment.
If you don't get it, and she'll probably get on, I haven't heard her interviewed about the horse. And maybe the horse is just a dead-set easy horse to train. I don't know. You guys might know.
Yeah, I've listened to her interviews, and she is.
Okay, so she just fills herself up.
She's one of the easiest horses to train she's ever had.
Yeah. So it's pretty hard to stuff it up. And I'd imagine this week would be probably, or this fortnight would probably be the easiest. You've got her there, already won at 2,400 metres, and just keep it ticking.
I listened to her, might have been last week, when she was on with the Morning Boys and the Sports Daily, and she said that most of the time you wouldn't even know she's there at home, and then once they put the saddle on her and they ask her to do some work, she does things behind the scenes that Justine's never seen before.
And these days too, they have all the data measurers that they put on the horses that they can really tell you, well, have a look what it's done there. Maybe to your eye, but then you have a look at the data and it just tells you, stride length and heart rates and all of that, and they come back and maximum speeds, and you go, wow. So
I'd love to see you under one of those measuring devices.
Depends the exercise I'm doing.
Maximum heart rate.
Check one on Mart. Stride length.
Some big name owners in this horse, including the Bin Chicken Pony Club.
Yes, the Bin Chicken Pony Club.
Well known.
Very well known. I know Dan Morton, rightfully so, does give his bloke a chance of knocking her off in sales session, and he hasn't really put a foot wrong.
No, hasn't.
He was put into the race at the right time at the shorts in the Mel Vista to get the job done. Wasn't as convincing as some might have expected.
Did he go... Lucy said that she actually went a bit earlier than she would have because it was the on-pace nature of the day and probably would have rather waited another 200 metres.
I think he's that kind of horse. He just needs that, to
get running,
to get rolling. Which is why Barrier 1 could potentially be problematic for him if he does find himself stuck behind a few or a couple. Because I would anticipate a very positive Luke Campbell on Max Verstappen. Pike will want to hold a spot with Funshell drawn his outside, and Lucy's in 1 with Machine Gun Gracie in 3. You might find yourself leaders back or 3 the fence and needing some room to move. I don't think it's a massive problem, but...
What happens if maybe he gets the, what do you like to call it, the suck-suck-ping run, the old Pat-Pong Road run, and it might suit the horse. You never know. So you might just off heels and have a little, one quick sprint at it. Who knows?
Yeah, I didn't think Max Verstappen was
the worst.
I didn't think there was much difference between their runs last start in the Mel Vista.
Considering the price differential.
Well, I think the differential's because Sal Session still beat him home, and Sal Session's 2 kilos the better.
Sorry, I meant when they met in the Mel Vista.
Oh, yes.
One was $1.40, one was $61.
$61.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that has trimmed up and a little bit, and rightfully so.
She wins. When you just turn it off and say that's enough, go to $1.30 and say, now, if you want it, it's there.
Gee, she's going to be in some multis. She's going to be anchored in some multis. It's been that sort of season, that period too, last few months, there's been a lot of these shorties get up, a lot of these multis get home.
You know how we read the big bets out on Racing Rewind on Sunday morning? Gee, there's been someone's been having a big bet over the last month, hasn't it? And it coincides obviously with a lot of that Sydney racing and what's going on with the shorties there.
Yeah, they love the good stuff.
But it flows. It has been flowing into Ascot.
Great for turnover.
Oh, yeah. Some massive bets. So, we're with her.
Yeah.
All right, we've got this race coming out from Pakenham. Then we'll be taking a break, 3.5 off Pakenham. We've got an odds-onny here, Dayala, to be ridden by Jakey Newton. It's been $2.70 into $1.70 transactions, $3.30 because you're minus $7.50 free to play at 7. For Lukey Curry, new rider there, Machine Gun Ron is $26. Big game tonight. Brisbane hosting Collingwood. Lee Matthews, part of that commentary team. I looked up and you look at his record, Riles. Four premierships as a player and 4 premierships as a coach. That's a bit of a record, isn't it?
He's had a tough run.
Over 330-odd games. And no wonder they think, well, God's here when he joins them in the commentary box up there in Brisbane. No one's talking while you're interrupting when Lee's about. That is for sure.
Lethal.
Yeah. So we've just dispatched the Schweppes WATC Derby over the 2,400 metres. We now move on to race number 7 on the card, which is the second leg of the quaddie. It is the Peters Investments Handicap over the 1,600 metres. And at number 1, you preempted this last week. It'll be on the back up, above the peg at $11. 2 here for checks, 10. Number 3, our Rocky Bay, $4.80. 4, Macchiato, 19. 5, Stylish Lord, $8.50 into 7. 6, Bellini Miss off the Little Freshen, 17 to 14. 7, Blazing Emerald is $5.50 to $4.60. 10, Catch These Hands, 10 to $7.50. And Correct Choice, $4.20 for Peters Investments in their own race.
Nice place bet early. Catch These Hands, 1,200 places at the 270. Blazing Emerald, plenty of good support there. 400 each way, 250 each way, 200 each way at the $5, $4.60, $4.60. Catch These Hands, a couple of hundred each way there early at the $10, well played. And 150 each way at the $8. A little bit of specking there, Correct Choice. Money hasn't really come locally yet for above the peg, but on the bounce you'd think it will be coming later.
Okay, Rocky Bay again to lead from 8 cuts across. Blazing Emerald from 3 up there. What do they do with above the peg this week? You got this one right last week, Riles? Map-wise?
I don't really think they have any other option than to go back from the draw, really. There's a bit of speed in this. Blazing Emerald, our Rocky Bay, they'll take care of proceedings. Stylish Lord will push forward to just park in behind them. Then you've got Catch These Hands, leaders back.
Stylish Lord.
It's pretty set and forget first 4 in your speed map.
Yep.
And I think they'll run along at a genuine tempo as well. And this is one where the market could do a few funny things late, Brad. It's obviously quite condensed at the moment. Once we get closer to start time, there's no shortage of horses that it wouldn't surprise to see really supported late.
I reckon Correct Choice would have a 2 in front of it if it was off 2 weeks and not 4. And that's what's confusing me about this race.
Yeah, and Correct Choice, I might be off the mark here, but I'm happy to back Correct Choice at that price, Brad. I think it's a really nice race for him to step into this company with how this race sort of maps out for him. I thought it was a really impressive win from last in Graduation Company last on a day that wasn't exactly easy to make ground, given where he settled in the run, and he was really soft late. It was an easy, effortless win. Draws a great barrier here to park midfield with cover. I think they'll run along at a genuine tempo with Blazing Emerald and our Rocky Bay both rolling forward and controlling proceedings. I think he's still progressing. As you know, Marty, you're the breeding buff, but these So You Thinks can take a little bit of time. And now as a 4-year-old, he's got some racing under his belt. He looks as though he's come back bigger and much better this campaign. He's always been a nice horse, but he's just starting to put it together now, as we saw with his win last start. And I'm happy to back him at that price, and I'm interested to see what the market does with him late, as there's every chance you might even get a better price.
love to hear Mickey G's thoughts on the morning of the race, because he's one that's pretty much when you interview him, he sounds like an open book. He's pretty honest with where he thinks the horse is at.
That's a good call.
What's gone wrong, and he's really, and I've heard him be very open before and saying, I think I've pulled the wrong rein here. I've also heard him say, I think this horse is flying, and blah blah. So gives his honest appraisal, and you'd love to know that leading up to the race, because that would probably point me one way or the other.
And just one other, Marty, before you give us any more of your questions or queries regarding this race. I've had something on one at odds as well here in Bellini Miss for our man SJ, who I just thought she was over the odds. She can sit closer from the barrier here. She's drawn beautifully in 5. I thought she had clear excuses from a very wide draw last start in what was a very fast run, 1,600 metres behind Trio, and gets 2.5 kilos on our Rocky Bay here for that run. I just thought this horse, we know that her best is really good. She ran third in a hot run, 1,800 metres behind Royal Toronado back in November, beaten a length and a half fly with caution. It's a really good form for a race of this nature, and I thought she could really improve here with this setup from a good barrier. So the price on offer gets me for a little speculative play with Bellini Miss as well.
A little bit each way above the peg. Just basically the backup theory on just how well this horse goes. It's incredible. Might be a sticky setup, but also might be, as you said, Riles, they might go pretty quick in this and set up for a few back markers. And another drifter late that I'll have a crack at is Macchiato, because I've always had an opinion of this horse and just seems a progressive type that may even appreciate longer over time.
Nice horse. Hates barrier 1. Sorry, barrier 2.
Barrier 2.
Means
they may stretch out a bit here.
Just on that breeding with So You Think, it's out of Celebrity's Choice, which is a Reduced choice, and you know Bob's got so many good Reduced choice mares, but the second best nick for a So You Think is a Reduced choice mare. Had 64 runners, 46 winners, 5 stakes winners. So he's got that cross, and he's got a few, hasn't he, Bob? So You Think's out of Reducts, and So You Think's just in his stable anyhow. So he's obviously identified that, Nick. So in the book or not?
Yeah, in the book for me, Marty. Correct choice. Happy to be on at the price. And also Bellini Miss, I think, is a really good roughie for our mate SJ.
Yeah, well, we'll have him on too later, and we're going to get up to Kalgoorlie, hopefully, catch up with David Metzke, who's a local steward up there, and find out how that track is looking for the KBRC's big Good Friday meeting after they've had 40 mil of rain. You've got something for us, Riles?
Yeah, the great Greg L. Haven't heard from Greg for a little while. Good to have him back with us. He's keen on Western Power as well as the best bet of the day. So Greg's following us in there. And Michael from North Perth. Saturday's fields for Ascot are up with markets, but Fridays are not up with fixed odds. How does that work? Thank you. And he says thank you, so he's asking without the malice involved, I think.
The feature meeting of the week's always been programmed in general play to be out at 8 o'clock Thursday morning, and sometimes we're at the mercy of other operators and other resources in regards to these special meetings.
Bit of a funny weekend being a Good Friday and Easter long weekend as well. So, yeah, I can understand why the Saturday meeting went up first. But I still would think you'd like markets for tomorrow's meeting by now.
By now you would, ideally, absolutely.
So why aren't they?
There is actually a bit of resource amending being done locally with Tab Touch, where we will have the ability to be able to throw a few more of these markets up earlier in scenarios like this where everyone else is sleeping at the wheel.
Not the RA.
Resource amending, yep. It
really sounds like
it's executive talk.
BS term, doesn't it?
You'd be good at that, I reckon.
I've had my turn at it. Given that away. Bellis Racing, join a racing syndicate. If you're going to join a racing syndicate, which one would you join?
Oh, that bin chicken.
Peter, if you're listening, Pete, I did my best, mate.
But they haven't won a Perth Cup.
Yeah.
They haven't won a Perth Cup.
Oh, that's the alarm there. I've got to...
You got to ring Brad.
You got to ring that little blue pill, Mark. You got to take.
You've got to ring the foghorn.
I've got to get Brad Hardy in a minute. because this game's not far away. It's 34 minutes away. We have to get him 30 minutes before, and I can report in that the nephew's reported in. Everything is good. He's up in the commentary box there, ready to call a trial, and he's our man in charge of the wage and trots tonight. So race number 8 to go at 420 over the 1,000. 1 is Ginnivan, 752. Classic Rogue, 71. 3 All Play, 390. 4 Sinful Living, 12. 5 Russian Snipers, 51. 6 Super Session, 17. 7 Taropa, 380 to 330. 8 Brave Strike, 9 to 550. There's where the Meerkat comes in. And Golden Veil is $6.
Mart.
Yes.
It's not a real meerkat.
Isn't it? Why?
There's been a little bit of money. Like someone said, what, 300 at the $9. We're best priced in the country. We're trying to lay Brave Strike. I'm pretty keen on taking it on here. So yeah, we will remain aggressive there. Taropa's the one, Mart. Oh my goodness! Nice. 900 at the 340, 800 there at the 380, 300 at the 380. Plenty of 2 and 300s there. Taropa. All Play, the money's starting to come now. 300 at the 340.
One of the highlights of the day, this race. It's a beauty. What about the map, Mart?
Oh, the map. Okay.
There are people texting in saying we've been
Sinful Living, and Golden Veil just gets a nice little run behind him. How's that?
Nice little...
I'm looking forward to the martsmaps.com merch.
What do you reckon would be first?
Some of the logos are going to be a little bit interesting.
Let us know if you'd buy any of
the
Maps merch on the Retrovision text line 0427 789.
There'll be smugglers, won't there?
Oh, there'll be smugglers.
Come on, we need to move this on. I've got a bit on here. I've got to get to Brad Hardy.
Yes, okay. We'll get a move on. This is a really good race, Mart. We see the return of Taropa. We see the return of All Play, and they're the two the market want at the moment. I've always loved All Play. He was very good to us last campaign. Looks a black type sprinter in waiting. Brad, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's been a month since his recent trial win at Belmont Park, and the fact that the glue-on shoes replace the Equicast suggests that there might have been a little minor setback since then.
Another one where you'd love Trevor's info in regards to that.
100%.
But trust his ability to get the horse right on the day.
Correct. Has to be a minor concern, but he should get a beautiful run tracking this speed in this race from that draw. All Play. And then Taropa has her first run for SJ Miller after the retirement of Doyen of WA Racing. Vern Brockman attacks this race fresh without a trial, as you mentioned, yet to be beaten in 2 first-up runs in her career to date. And, gee, she ran into some strong races without winning last campaign. So you have to be completely respecting of her, and she's got the tactical speed to lob right in behind that speed as well. I've got respect for Ginnivan. Drops back to a ratings race, but has plenty of weight to carry, and there will be pressure coming across from out wide in the form of Sinful Living. I don't think that works in his favour. Golden Veil gets a nice run, box seating, and has been freshened up. But Taropa and All Play are the two for me, Brad, and I didn't have a lot between them in the market, but just the slight concern that maybe there's been a setback with All Play. I was leaning towards Taropa, but I really struggled to split the pair.
Yeah, at the 1,000, I prefer All Play. I'll take the 420 available. Well aware of that risk in regards to the glue-on shoes there. It's a concern, isn't it, Ross? But All Play will be the one that gets me. And if Ginnivan drifts much further, I could have a sneaky bet on it too, because that was full of respect for the horse, and I think he can run a race here, especially if he can get to the front, which I think he can.
Right, we've got one to go, and then we'll be going down to Wage and catching up with the nephew and previewing the meeting down there. Great to have Wage and Trots on tonight. No doubt there'll be a big crowd on course.
It's only great to have them on if the nephew can find our listeners a winner.
He'll find a winner. Don't worry about that, and he'll call them home in great fashion, passionate fashion from the nephew. Varley Kim Bailey Handicap is the last event of the day over the 1,200 metres. to all his family and friends. We wish you all the best. One keep attacking is 8 into 6, 2 Silver Eye 10 into 8, and playing Rio 18 into 17, 4 Blue Rocket after red, 5.50 to 3.90, 5 is Canny Rock. And how's yours? $9. 6 Changing Guard is 61. 7 Jazz Session. The Picket Fence 2.90 to 2.70. Madame Magic is $14, and Nobility. Oh, that was a sneaky winner last start. $13. Didn't see that one coming.
All those market moves, smart.
Sponsored
Dankz
by.
Avenue's been scratched.
Sponsored by
martsmaps.com. Plenty of feedback on this text line as well.
Yeah, for the map. I just want to tell you, before you launch, Nobility to lead with Jazz Session around the place. That's what I've got.
Yeah, around the place. One of our listeners says they'll buy a Mart's Maps T-shirt if there's a photo of the peng on the back.
Now, where's all the money gone, more importantly?
Oh, well, Jazz Session.
Yeah.
1,100 wins at the 2.8. Silver Eye. Local Pro Keen each way at the $10. Keep attacking. They started early. They liked the $8, and they're still coming at the 6.
Kept attacking.
Canny Rock, bit of Eastern States Pro money as well.
Yeah, good race to round out the program. I'm a massive fan of what Jazz Session's been doing, as I'm sure most punters are. She keeps winning. She's a proper mare in form at the moment. And Brad, while this is certainly her toughest test to date, there's no doubt about that, she drops some weight off her back. And her figures, Mart, from her recent runs, if she can reproduce, they are going to more than stack up in this field, I think. Just needs, and this is the only slight sticking point for me, is that I think there are a few horses drawn underneath her who are going to look for a similar spot in running. I think she just needs to find a spot from that barrier early. And there are a few horses drawn underneath her, like Blue Rocket, like Silver Eye, potentially even Madame Magic, who showed a bit more dash than she usually does in her recent trial. If Tash kicked up with her to try and hold a position, which I doubt, but there is enough there to suggest that it could get a little bit sticky potentially for Donga early. But I think if he can find a spot with her and a back to follow, I'm happy to follow her in to win her 4th race on the bounce.
Yep.
Not a lot to add. Bit of a head scratch for mine. A few horses that are creeping out to pretty nice each way prices, like Nobility, who does look like it'll be left alone again in front.
Correct.
Madame Magic, that was a nice trial. Maybe even as slightly off last prep, Madame Magic, and has just come back right near her best. So there's a few horses here that could get me each way. Canny Rock's flying. How much more can it do?
Yeah, Matt for me.
Yeah, it does he, but has shown it can do it tough. It can chase. It can, put in the hard yard. So, yeah, sticky race for me. I might just snip a couple each way, Martin, knobs and that, but not overly enthused.
Okay.
Blue Rocket will have fans as well. With Pike on board, should get the run of the race from that barrier, and might take a bit of confidence from that win last start at Geraldton.
Quickly get your bets on Ballarat Race 3. Mick McGuane going 1 and 8. They're up behind the mobile. We've just got Matty back too. We lost the line, but he's got it back on. So let's get our best bets for the program out there at Schweppes. WATC Derby Day at Ascot.
Comfortably with Western Power as the best bet on the program, Mart, in race 5. Race 4, 2-horse play, Let's Talk and My Lovely Pet. And then race 7, Correct Choice and Bellini Miss.
What about Daytona Road?
And Daytona Pete, I think, looks a bet in the opening race as well.
Race 2 statewide, as it approaches $4. Race 3, I'm going to back both Shooting Spirit and First Beach. Race 5, Speak to Me each way, $9.50 around the traps. That's a good each way bet for mine. Race 8, All Play at the $4.20 around the traps will get me to.
Go the Prospector.
Geez, you've been good today. Great to have you back.
Yeah, thanks.
We hope you enjoyed another stimulating episode of Straight Up. All betting markets supplied by Tab Touch. All care, no responsibility went into the production of today's podcast.